Good. So welcome everybody again, another panel. You get to hear me talk fast, even faster than it was before. So we're talking about the updates on CFPA as an organization. As we mentioned earlier, we are going to be merging with CIFRA, our sister organization at Foundation. The whole process has been one of kind of keeping a watchdog on SEC and FINRA, making sure that the intent of the Jobs Act was reflected. Now that that work's done, we're moving into more of a membership-facing mode, where we're going to be looking for more people, and more people not just in membership, people looking to research the space, but more importantly, people to offer their expert guidance and experience to those that need to learn more. So we're going to talk a little bit about education and training with my good friend Kevin Provost, with my good friend Clairbrone Booker, and with my good friend Brian Christie. But first, before we get into that, if it's all right with the two gentlemen to my left, we're going to have Brian introduce his company, Brainsy.com, which is one of the upgrades to the CFPA experience that I think is most promising. So take it away.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm live, you can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So Scott, thanks. We're really pleased to be partnered with CFPA. This is an area where there's a lot of interest by entrepreneurs and others, and so we think it's a perfect fit for the platform we offer. I'm going to spend just 1 minute to give you a little bit of background on Brainsy, and then I'll go into an actual demo of the platform that's been launched, so, that we announced today. So just to give you a little context on where we see ourselves fitting in the world, Brainsy sees this evolution of the economy where we've gone from an ag economy to what's today many people say is a knowledge-based economy. And so this evolution's happened, we're all a part of it, but at the same time, we find that there's a lot of friction in accessing knowledge products and expertise. So you can go online, and many of you do it all the time, and click a button and have a physical product on your doorstep the very next day. But when you're trying to get someone's expertise or knowledge, often there's a lot of friction before you can get there. So we've created a platform that we call Knowledge Sharing Networks, and the idea here is to make expertise accessible. So you can request a call and have direct access to a person. You can have a Q&A exchange online. There's lots of different ways, lots of different tools you have to share and exchange knowledge. And so the idea I talked about where we see ourselves fitting in the world, we see ourselves as really advanced social media using these online knowledge exchanges, and we see ourselves as networks of subject matter experts. And we're really trying to promote three things. One is community, because we think that's very important. Two, promotion of both the organization and the individuals within it, so they get to promote themselves. And finally, there's this component of monetization, where people can get paid for their expertise. And so that's really what we're looking to achieve. With that, let me switch over and give you a look at the platform, which we announced today. This is the crowdfunding expert community, which is powered by CFPA and its membership. And so what you see here, and I'm going to go through just features very quickly, and I know it's the end of the night, and Scott's speaking quickly, so I'll speak quickly as well. But what you see here is a number of experts, very handsome crowd here, who are who've built their profiles on the CFPA site. And here I'll look at, say, for example, an example of Alon, and it's very similar to what you see in other social media profiles, maybe a LinkedIn profile or something of that nature. Here you have Alon. He's tagged himself with his areas of expertise. Here's some videos he's put in of himself. There's some background on some of his other accomplishments that he's been able to be known for. And this is an opportunity for people who are seeking expertise to really see this person and whether or not they're someone they want to try and tap the knowledge of. And so, and so you'll see that each of these individuals has a chance to build their profiles. They can link it to their existing social media profiles that they may have, whether it's on LinkedIn or Twitter or something else. So there's this integration and complementarity with existing systems that are out there. You'll see at the top of the screen there's categories, which CFPA has designated as important categories. And so there's a taxonomy of knowledge that's really expressed through the association. So whether you're looking at big data, blockchain, economic sustainability, all these different topics are ones where there's professed knowledge within the organization. So when people are coming seeking that knowledge, whether they're doing an online search or they're on the website and they're looking at, they can drill down very quickly to get to the right people who have that particular base of knowledge. There's some other features that are very important. There's a knowledge board, which is a publishing tool for the experts, so they can come, and I'll show you one on a different ECN, since today we launched this particular Echo. It's not, you're not going to see a lot of examples yet, but on another platform you'll see here's an example of what a knowledge board posting looks like by someone who's written on a particular topic. It's just an opportunity for long-form posting of content. You don't have to run your own blog. You basically can post your content and your expertise and showcase your knowledge here within the association. So there's a knowledge board which all the experts can post to. There's a Q&A function, so very similar to what you see on Quora or these others. You can answer a question that someone posts to you in writing, and as someone submits a question to you, if you answer it, the question and answer are then posted live on the site. The nice thing about that is that it also gets fed through the Twitter feed of CFPA. So a summary of that is out to the broader universe, and it gets into a feed here as well. So there's this integration and ability to integrate with other platforms, so that this knowledge, once it's exchanged here within, it gets amplified elsewhere.
And I can add to that point that this is one of the things that was most crucial to me as a nonprofit leader. We have limited human resources. When I say that we're a board of directors that does all the work, I mean sincerely. There are very few people doing all the work. So anything that can offset manual, duplicative work is so precious to us. And when I met Brian, it was just an epiphany. And I'm very excited about it. And I highly recommend anybody that runs an organization that has limited means to really consider a platform like this, because it is going to be a godsend for us. So
okay,
continue.
Good, sure. So there's a couple more features I'll show you just so that you're all aware of what it can do. There's a group functionality. So if you want to have private groups, you have committees that want to talk about things, you can set those up in a particular group, or you can have an external group functionality where people are exchanging knowledge for the broader community, people who may be new to crowdfunding. This is obviously an area where there's growing interest. There's a wealth of knowledge. There's a way to archive some of those discussions. So someone who's new coming in wants to just look at an archive of discussion that's taken place. It's a great place for them to find that. And then there's a feed, which you're familiar with. Everyone uses Facebook or LinkedIn or some of these other tools, where the feed is really a place to go and to see what's happening in the community. So this we can actually stream live. You can see we can click and show you that we can see ourselves. We might want to get one of those infinity screens going here in terms of how it works. I'll pause it so we don't happens. But you can stream activity that's taking place for other events. People can be commenting through Twitter. You can post all sorts of things. If people have answered the Q&A, you'll see that those summaries get posted here. If someone's published something to the knowledge board, that shows up here in the feed. So the feed's a good way for people to understand what's happening there in the community. And there's lots of other features. You can put a button or a badge from your profile if you're an expert on LinkedIn, so someone can see that when they go to LinkedIn. They can click on that and then end up on your profile. And a ton of other features which we don't have time to go into. But just want to give everyone a lay of the land and overview, be available to answer questions later of what the sort of capabilities are of the platform. Again, it's a feature-rich knowledge exchange that will allow members and non-members to really to communicate, to interact, gives people a chance to promote themselves, the organization a chance to promote themselves. And then I'd be remiss not to mention that there are sponsorship opportunities. So for companies that want to be out in front on these particular issues, you can sponsor some of the various categories. And by doing that, every time someone's there looking to see an exchange or to learn information, your brand could be front and center, so they want to click through. So this offers an opportunity for some of the sponsoring organizations to really extend beyond a conference time and for 365 days a year to get some visibility with people who are looking for knowledge and expertise in this particular area. So with that, I don't know if you want me to take any Q&A or just...
I think we should probably save that for
after.
after.
Okay, so I'll be available later. So again, we're really pleased to be working with CFPA. Thank you, Scott, for inviting us in.
Thank you, Brian.
And talk to you later. Okay. Thank you.
Great. So I hope you can see a little bit of the enthusiasm that I've been disseminating over the last few months, having been able to work with Brian intimately in crafting how the CFPA can make the most use of the many tools that are included in his platform. In addition to that, I can also announce today that the CFPA's new website is finally done and it's online. You've probably seen pieces of it. I've been toiling at that for the last several months with a developer out west who I'm very, very happy with. I'm happy to refer him if anyone needs a good developer. But we've been busy focusing on, again, for the last 4 years, we've been focusing more on the implementation and the intent of the rules of the Jobs Act to make sure that they were met with the same expectations that they were created. And now that we've kind of reached that point where the rules are, for the most part, set in stone, we're obviously going to see changes as we go. We hope for changes. But with the merger of CFPA, we're going to have a unified voice able to be seen by the government and our representatives as a de facto place to go to make sure that they're they're in check with the large landscape of people that have been largely left out of the world of investment. A huge component of that is education. So I'm going to hand it over to Kevin Provost. He is the founder of CoFund 360 and amid a number of other ventures. He and I met originally in the context of educating students on the powers of crowdfunding, and I'll let him take it over from here. A little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Scott. So, as Scott mentioned, about 5-6 years ago, he and I hooked up. Ryan Feit actually introduced us, founder of Seed Invest. I had cold called Ryan back in 2011 saying, what's going on with education in the crowdfunding industry? And he said, I got a good group of people you can talk to, and referred me to what was then CFPA and CIFRA together, and got introduced to Scott and a number of the individuals in this room. So for me, my passion of coming into the industry was really as a creative entrepreneur. I'm a writer, I'm a musician. I did a lot of concert reviews for different artists during the course of the last 10 years and saw a struggle for filmmakers and creative entrepreneurs trying to get funded for their own projects. So Scott's comment on the previous panel of STEM to STEAM movement, I'm very much aligned with STEAM education, and started to do some curriculum development under a nonprofit that I organized in Metro Detroit back in 2011, which was all about rewards-based, donation-based crowdfunding and bringing curriculum programs to high schools and colleges to kind of supplement what they were already teaching relative to either business schools or fundraising down at the high school level. In working with universities and schools for a couple years, at some point we had a bunch of small business owners knock on our door and say, how do I actually use this information to raise money for my own business? Light bulb went off at some point. We realized startups are a lot cooler than universities, and we should start working with small business owners and creative entrepreneurs instead of universities. That isn't completely true. We still spend about a third of our time working with schools and universities, advising them how to bring crowdfunding best practices into alumni development, business school, tech transfer. That said, here at the CFPA, we've been working, Clairbrone and I, kind of hand in hand with the rest of the Education Training Committee for the last year on a couple initiatives that we think are going to benefit, hopefully, the whole ecosystem here. So one of the initiatives that I'll talk about today, and I'll let Clairbrone kind of talk about the other one, is essentially a white paper document that we're looking to come out with on an annual basis, which is the state of education and training in the crowdfunding industry. This is a document that we had the idea of about 9 or 10 months ago, back in the summer of last year. And where we are right now is reaching out to critical stakeholders, both universities, researchers, funding portals, the SEC, FINRA, as well as ancillary service providers who are helping business owners and funding portals, evolve this market together. So issuers, investors are obviously important players for us, but for us, there's also a lot of education and training need for the ancillary service providers. So we're going to be conducting a series of interviews, a series of surveys with these organizations, and happy to talk after this panel with anyone in the room that wants to get personally involved in any of that. But the state of education training in the crowdfunding industry we're viewing as kind of at least an annual publication. There might be a US focus and then maybe an international focus 6 months later. We are working with a couple organizations who might be fiscally underwriting this as sponsors. So real excited to start working with the CFPA on producing more education content that the industry can use. One of the goals of that document is hopefully what will come out of it is a list of gaps, of education gaps, whereby we can start to work with niche subject matter experts who can then help us come out with training modules and online courses in the niche verticals of the industry that really need urgent and immediate attention. So not just an annual publication, but again, hopefully there are some action items that come out of this publication. So happy to pass it off to Clairbrone here. He can talk about one of our other education initiatives in the meantime.
And it's a very basic one. My background is institutional money management, and so one of the things I see about crowdfunding is that it's a new asset class and that it deserves to be treated like one. And one of the things that we have talked about, and this is largely from a suggestion by Richard Swartz, is that we're now at a point where we ought to be thinking about some foundational documents for the organization, one of which would be a Bill of Rights. And that's really meant to be a conceptual marker, if you will, for us as an organization to think about the principles that we would like to stand behind as an organization for all stakeholders, not just investors, but entrepreneurs, the other people who are going to be involved in interacting with us, either through the website or in direct participation in crowdfunding campaigns. So I've largely, I have a small working group within the Education and Training Committee to start looking at this. We've looked at other models. You know, there are codes of ethics and other things like that, but those are more implemented aspects. We want to take a step back and focus on sort of those first principles, at least initially, and have a proposal to present to the membership probably within the next couple of months. So if you have an interest in moral philosophy or law or economics or any of those sorts of things, we certainly invite you and welcome you to participate in helping us draft and come up with something that we can then present to the membership. We're also reaching out, of course, to the regulators and others, but this is a document that we as an organization must promulgate for ourselves and own for ourselves. So it makes sense that we do it that way. So that's really that project, and I think we can put something, we're reasonably far along in our thinking on this, but we can always use more input. So you're very welcome to join us in that effort, and hope you will give us meaningful feedback in what we put together in the coming weeks.
Yeah, so I think on that front, the merger of our organizations is also going to yield a tremendous amount of knowledge, which we will be able to repurpose not only through Brian's Brainsy platform, but also internally in creating, curating, and potentially even getting to the stage of certification, other forms of authorizing that people are either knowledgeable as investors or are prepared as entrepreneurs, and that's a huge asset that we look to gain from CIFRA as well. So that's really about the basics. On the update of the CFPA, again, we've been in a long stage of growth kind of behind the scenes inside baseball. Now I think we're about to emerge into a very Main Street facing organization, and what we really need is as much assistance from people like yourselves who are passionate and involved to show up here at this every year. I've seen several faces that have come many years, and thank you for supporting us in that time, and we hope to gain your support over the long term as well. So with that, I think we're going to conclude and get moving on. So thank you very much.